Hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome to Wisdom 2.0, everyone. You're in the people stage. Welcome. Get settled in. We have people joining. Oh, lovely. Everyone's just rushing in.
It's my sister.
Oh, fabulous. This is wonderful. Okay. Welcome, everyone.
Oh, I'm not going to.
Yay. So again, you're in the people stage for Wisdom 2.0. And we have Elizabeth Shara and Kate Atwood with us today. And they are talking about the wisdom of embracing loss. So for right now, all of you are on mute. And there will be some time during the presentation where there will be some connection and conversation. And at that point, you will be off mute so that you can actually connect and conversate. And we're also going to have some time at the end for some Q&A. So some more connection and conversation. And you'll be able to unmute yourselves then as well. We also have the chat active. So feel free to leave comments and chat in there. Elizabeth and Kate will be looking at the chat. So you can put questions in there and comments as well. So let's get started with Elizabeth Shara and Kate Atwood speaking on the wisdom of embracing loss. So they have been dedicated much of their adult lives to support grieving families and communities. 1 year ago, they joined forces to found Talk About Loss, understanding the formidable impact of loss upon us due to the COVID pandemic. They are joining us today from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome, Elizabeth and Kate. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Melissa. So everybody, we invite you to drop in your origin city or country into the chat. It's great for us to know what cultural rituals are in the room with us today. And thank you all for being here. We know that this is a loaded topic, so welcome to the wisdom of embracing loss. I'd like to believe that we're all a little bit wiser today. Oh my goodness. We've got you from Canada, London, Germany, Oakland, Colorado, Maui, the Philippines. Oh my gosh, this is tremendous. This is tremendous. So I'm Elizabeth, and this is Kate Atwood, and we're the co-founders of Talk About Loss. Talk About Loss is a platform that acknowledges the significance of loss in all our lives and helps individuals feel empowered. When grieving, we offer community for grievers and those who love and support them. So we will talk a little bit about our background during this session, but it's safe to say that anyone drawn to working in the grief field are people just like us who have had to do our own work. You can learn more about us and what we do at our website, talkaboutloss.com. Oh my gosh. Oh, Pearl's in Atlanta too. Fantastic. Oh my gosh, Alabama, Seoul, this is incredible. So while technology cannot replace loss or heal the sadness of loss, I am so grateful that technology has given our community a place to connect during this last year. And we're all connected here today. So with a show of hands, can you show us how many of you showed up because you're grieving? Welcome. And how many of you showed up today because you're supporting someone you love who's grieving? Yeah, it's a mixed bag, isn't it? Kudos to all of you for showing up. So we have a short 45 minutes to talk about one of life's most altering experiences that affects every human being on the planet. But no pressure. We can do it in 45 minutes. We're going to touch on what we do a little bit and invite you to connect with us throughout this whole experience. So Kate and I came to launch Talk About Loss after 20 years of working in this field, because grief and death were still that taboo subject that made everybody squirm. It didn't matter how evolved you were. It's a subject that makes us all want to just run and hide. Literally, nobody wanted to talk about loss. Then suddenly, everything changed. The global pandemic outed loss, right? Whether inside your conference room or inside your living room, ignoring that giant sad elephant in the room, it just wasn't possible. Because from losing our daily routines, our jobs, human interaction, and human touch to the tragic loss of life, this once taboo subject was literally everywhere. From news stories to magazine covers, and now on the people stage at Wisdom 2.0. So I do want to take a moment to thank everybody who voted for us. We are humbled and amazed to be here. So we know from our own experience that after losing someone you deeply love, feeling isolated and alone inside your own life often follows loss. But we also know we can minimize this one aspect of the grief experience when we learn to talk about loss openly and with compassion for each other. Listen, we see it in our work every single day, and it's so beautiful. Our relationships are strengthened, our connections are deeper, and entire communities are transformed when we are all better equipped to navigate through grief. Right now, we have an unprecedented opportunity to do just that. We can achieve this change through 3 key steps: awareness, attention, and action. Look, if we've learned one thing in this last year, it's that we cannot control when or how loss happens, but we can decide how we experience grief. And that's what we're going to talk about.
It is. And, when we think about the complexity of grief, both from a lens of individuality and a lens of collective grief, I just want to add that, Elizabeth and I just called it what it was, that the daunting first step is to just talk about it. And so when we look at this first step that we term awareness, we've all seen the numbers. We have seen that nearly 3 million people have lost their lives to the COVID pandemic. I think 2.76 was the number that I read. But did you know that for every life that is lost, there are 9 people that are intimately attached to that loss? So when we talk about awareness, we talk about not just the data, not just the numbers, but the grief experience that follows that. On top of that, in any given year, 2.2 million Americans, just Americans, die, leaving spouses and children and family and communities. So when I get on my soapbox about awareness, and Elizabeth allows me to, it's really about understanding that these numbers are attached to people and are attached to communities and are attached to relationships. And that's why we started Talk About Loss. You guys as people, but also as leaders, are embarking on the next phase of all of this, which is we will open up our world. We will come back into offices and communities and places where it will rely on this awareness. It will rely on this wisdom to know that that loss was not just a number to somebody. And like Elizabeth, I come to this space from a very personal place. A big thing that happened in my life was my mother passed away when I was 12 years old, and I'm a grown adult, and most of our world would say that, okay, well, didn't you go through the 5 stages and weren't you okay with it? But I will say that that event shaped my life. And the biggest place that it shaped my life was that I understood that we lived in a world that told me to suppress instead of express my grief. And it was the biggest lesson coming out of that when I was able to talk about loss, that then I was able to connect and understand the power and the gifts that can come from that. So as we go about our time today, I just want us to come back to that awareness, the depth of that word, the strength of that word, that when you think about these numbers, when you hear these numbers, yes, they're headlines. Yes, we're at a stage now where there are covers of magazines, but that there are people that are attached to that. And many of you guys have shown up today. And when we go out in the world and we talk about awareness, we need to talk about not just the loss, but the grief journey that comes after that. And I think that's, Elizabeth, what we're going to work a little bit on exploring today.
That's right, Kate. So we're going to put it into kind of the day-to-day format here. So any of us who have experienced grief will understand that there is a real 30-day window after loss. Lots of commotion, lots of people showing up, helping, and lots of food. People bring a lot of food. But what happens when the casseroles are gone? We often turn into strangers amongst each other. So we're going to show you a graphic of some real conversations that we have with the people that we work with. So fantastic. Thank you, Kate. The first one is what we call in our heads. So in our heads is where we're not facing each other. We're literally facing away from each other emotionally. And the griever feels, I can't do small talk. I feel like I'm an alien trying to be normal. Her chair is empty at the table and no one else is noticing. I remember feeling like that. I don't know if I can or if I want to survive. It's easier on everyone else if I just stop talking. I mean, it's just heartbreaking. And the people around us, and I've been in the other chair as well, they often don't know what to say. They want to know if it's too soon. Can we just go out to dinner? Is it worse if I don't invite him or her? Would I make it worse if I talk about how much I miss him as well? And often they're scared that they're going to lose us too, or they're afraid of saying something wrong and making it worse. But what we're trying to change is putting these conversations from our heads to our hearts. Okay, so thank you, Kate. So when we're in our hearts, it sounds something like this, and it's so beautiful. So I get emotional just looking at this slide. So the griever's thinking, I feel like you want me. I feel like you want me to be over this. And now the people that we're working with are saying, I don't. I just want to be able to be there to help you. I want to be here with you. Being out in public feels like too much. And their friend says, I'll bring dinner. Maybe we can just take a walk. I hate that she's gone and I am so sad. You know what? I hate it too, and I miss her too. Those are the moments when people look at each other and they can be together in this. Ugh. I'm afraid to tell you that I wish I was dead too. The amount of times we hear this, and I've been there, and they say, I'm afraid for you. I wish I could take away your pain. And to have somebody hold your hand and not have to fix it, not have to change anything, but just say, I am here. I'm not going anywhere. And then can you be patient with me? Which always in some form turns into, I'm not going anywhere. I love you. I'm not afraid of your pain. I'm right here. Now, we do have the ability to do this. And when we speak from our hearts, everyone is uplifted and everyone is connected. It is such a powerful, simple, simple process. But we have a long way to go. That's why Talk About Loss is here. So Kate and I have done this exercise together, and it's Kate, take it away. I'm emotional.
Well, I love that exercise because, you know, a lot of my work has been around with kids, and we see that with children when you introduce talking about loss at the point at which that happens. It's a very powerful moment. And we really want to introduce that empowerment to adults. And it does start, I say this all the time, it does start with expression. The whole Talk About Loss movement is really about taking the culture of suppression and moving it to expression. And we talk about that in a lot of other aspects of our life, change, stress, but really now we have the attention, we have the opportunity to take that and pay attention to it when it comes to grief and loss. I had this great quote that I want to share with you. Crisis is what suppressed pain looks like. It always comes to the surface. It shakes you into reflection and healing. I think that's such a beautiful quote. It's by an author and an activist. His name is Bryant McGill, and he does a lot of work around the fields of human potential and human rights. And as we look at this next step in our framework at Talk About Loss, we talk about the word attention. And it takes everybody who's showing up today to really want to lean in and pay attention. Even as we move towards the light that is really upon us in this post-COVID world, we're starting to see that we will come out of this, that we will be moving in the world again. We must not miss this opportunity to take this step in this crisis, as Bryant says so poignantly, to pay attention to what we are feeling after the experience of such devastating loss. And I think no matter where you're coming from around the world, you can agree that we live in a world that is more incentivized around the good feelings. It's more incentivized to chase joy, to understand joy, to share joy. But what we want people to pay attention to is it is as important to pay attention to the pain and to the loss. As hard as that is, as much as we feel like we lose control around that. And why that is because really, if you think about it, to really know joy, to know true joy, to not be mystified by inauthentic joy, you have to know that equivalent, you have to know that other side of it. And this is what really makes our time so important today, because you all are the leaders. You all are the ones that are willing to take the first step to acknowledge that beyond awareness, we must pay attention. So we want to take this moment right now as we frame the session around attention to do a little breakout session. We're going to have you guys kind of split up in smaller groups, and it is Talk About Loss. So we're going to do a little talking. But as we break out, and Melissa, our friend, is going to help us all get into small groups. And as you break out into these groups, I want you to introduce yourself, and I want you to share what brought you to this stage today. What made you say, I want to be a part of this session that is about embracing loss and the work that we're doing today. So I think we'll go ahead and break people up. We'll have about 5 minutes so everybody can share, and then we'll come back as a group.
Melissa, do I just click not now? for mine?
Yes, if you don't want to, yeah, join a group, then you
Yeah.
can just click not now. But yep, they are in progress. Just sent you a little note. Yes, wonderful. This is just so meaningful, and thank you.
Here is watching your head nod is like a blanket of love. Thank you.
Oh, it so resonates.
Mm.
Okay, I'm gonna go back on mute.
Hi, Els.
Hi, Elizabeth.
How are you?
Oh, I'm so.
You're so.
Yeah, I have grief at the moment.
Oh, I'm here with you. No, wait, did you lose your husband?
I did, but there's more going on.
Oh, I'm
Can
so
Can
sorry.
I share? Can I share it a little
Sure.
bit? Or but I don't know what the topic is. I'm sorry. I know the topic is grief, but I don't
Well,
know.
we just put everybody into a breakout session, so they're going to be popping
Oh,
in. So I'm
okay.
not quite
All right.
sure.
No, it's fine. I thought there were just 7 people here. You have big,
No, there's a big group in a breakout session right now.
fantastic,
Yeah,
fantastic.
so if
No,
you guys
I'm
are
fine.
joining us, everybody's in a breakout session, but we're happy to,
Yeah,
also we're happy
yeah.
to hear you share what's going on. Is there, we're just in smaller groups so that we can introduce ourselves and, you know,
Okay.
just have a moment to share why we showed up, why this was an important topic for us.
Well, I know Elizabeth from IMBA.
Yeah.
And so we are colleagues there. I lost my husband this year. I have
Sorry.
an innocent niece in prison in Croatia, and she did something really impulsive for someone else, and is incarcerated in it. We are Dutch, you know, so this is former Yugoslavia, so it's really.
Yeah.
And she has a serious medical condition as well. So that's really worrisome and scary. And then I watched Ellen versus Pharaoh versus Ellen.
Mhm.
That's my story.
Mm.
I don't know whether anybody has seen it here, but it's.
I did watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very close to my story, the way it looked. And so even this whole thing with my niece, what brings up is that old shame, that old kind of like the pattern is going on. And this is particularly because it's high society, white people kind of stuff, which, you know, there wasn't any lack or whatever. It was like the hidden part and the shame part is it's more difficult in that particular part is more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's playing at this moment. Yeah.
I'm glad you're here. And let's definitely, I'm going to connect with you. I'll connect with you this afternoon or tomorrow. Definitely. But I'm glad that you're here, Els. I really am. When I saw you, it's good to see a familiar face from the Inner MBA.
That's true too. Yeah.
And Gabrielle and Leah, did you want to go into a breakout room? We have more folks.
I'm actually just alone in the breakout room, so I just left and yeah.
Okay, so we're coming back.
Oh, fantastic.
We're getting, I'm about to make the announcement that 1 minute is remaining.
Okay. Well, Gabrielle and Sylvie, where are you from?
So I'm in Colorado here in the US, and I'm joining you then now, and I apologize for being late. But I was joining because I too had a loss, very unexpected loss this year. And so I'm dealing with my own grief as well as that of my sister. It was her eldest son. He was only 31 years old.
Oh my gosh.
We lost him very early in COVID. So April 2nd will be 1 year. And we're just trying to figure out how to get through this. And more or less, I guess I'm trying to it's interesting. I'm trying to bring her through it and see how I can't be a better support to her, even though we're 2,000 miles away from each other. She's still lives in New York. And so there's that going on in life, but I'm also going to be opening up grief and loss clinics with my horses again. I do equine assisted learning and activities here as therapy. I have 19 horses now on my facility, so we're going to be coming into a very robust piece of our season shortly.
Well, I'm so sorry about your nephew. And we are talking about grief, not only for the person who's lost somebody, but the people that are supporting them in that conversation. So let's definitely connect, but we definitely need to connect about your, what you're doing in Colorado.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd be happy to speak to it, as well as just, it's nice to be with people like yourself.
So glad you're here. Yeah, we are a community. We
Yeah.
are a community.
And I think you came at the right time, Gabrielle, because we're about to do an exercise. It's one of our favorite tools that I think will be very helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kate.
Okay, everybody's starting to come back in. Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. So what we'd like to do is find out how that was for you. If you wouldn't mind just dropping a comment in the chat and letting us know how that felt. I know it's not easy, but it's in company of grief. Anyone else? It takes a lot to talk about what's really going on. Oh, I was alone in the breakout room, so that's how it felt. Oh, Leah, I'm so sorry. Leah, where are you? We need to connect.
Hi.
Powerful experience.
Beautiful to witness each other's grief. Brief moment of heart-to-heart connection. That's beautiful, Tina.
If you're just coming back, we're asking everybody to just put your experience in the chat. It was so very powerful being with my partners and everyone's authenticity. Yeah, it gets real fast, doesn't it? So beautiful. Thank you, Sasha, Sarah, and David. Oh, nice to have space where we could share our loss experience and feel connected. Thank you to everyone in my small group. I wish we could have had longer. We'll talk about that in a moment. Breathing and feeling with you, sending love. Yes, it is nice to be with other people who understand. Really moving and powerful. Oh my gosh. I get
different kinds of loss. That's something that we talk about, really opening our eyes up to. There's just so many different types of loss, and we're all coming from this different point of entry, but we all show up and we are connected in this really remarkable emotional experience.
Corinne, I agree. Let's just take a deep breath together. Let's just be together in breath for a moment. So just settle in, lower your eyes, and let's just take in a deep breath and hold it at the top and let it out. And let's take in another deep breath and take in the love that we share, not only together at Wisdom 2.0, but for the people we've loved and lost. And breathe out love, care, tenderness, and compassion to the people that need it most today. And yes, Lisa, the tender stories need more time to unfold. This is such a brief time, but we're so glad you're here. And we're going to talk to you about ways to connect with us so we can have longer conversations. So why don't you all open your eyes and come back to the room. So now their feelings are on the surface, we're going to share with you one of our favorite tools for focusing attention. But first, I need to go back to the origin of pie. So both of my parents died when I was a teenager, and it took me years to learn how to heal and thrive after this profound loss. Then 25 years later, my son Jack died. I still can't say it. It's been 16 years. I still can't say it without getting teary. The tools and methods I'd used before went out the window. I couldn't access any healing modalities. I was very skilled in yoga, meditation, prayer. I traveled around the world. I dedicated a lot of my adult life to finding out about rituals for grieving loss and the mourning rituals internationally. I'm an event planner by trade, and what I knew I needed to do was help other people experience a memorial or a ritual that meant something to them. And by doing so, I needed to find out what happened in the rest of the world. But when I lost my son, Jack, I had nothing. And to make matters worse, well, no, not worse, but more complex, I quickly found out that I was pregnant. And then I was in a very high risk situation. And then I was told that for the survival of my unborn child and myself, I needed to stay calm and not let my blood pressure go over to a certain point. But how? I mean, come on. I couldn't be on any medication. I couldn't meditate, let alone sleep. I don't know. I'd like to know from you, how many of you were able to stay calm and meditate and sleep after loss? I don't know anyone. So I had to learn how to make friends with my own nervous system. Pie became a technique that was created to save my unborn child. In this case, I like to say necessity was the mother of invention. I had no other choice. So PIE stands for pause, identify, and embrace. Pause is to bring awareness to the present. Identifying and actually naming each emotion brings them to wakeful, conscious attention. And the action of embracing our emotions, the good, the bad, and the ugly, creates a foundation of healthy expression. Again, it started back then, awareness, attention, and action. So I use this technique in early loss, really to keep myself and my baby safe and sane. And we teach this process in our community. And I did it right before we came on here today, because I use it in everyday life. I pause. My body tells me when something's going on, and I just pause. I stop, no matter what it is. And I start naming my emotions. And today, right before this, I was saying, I feel anxious, I feel nervous, maybe I'm an imposter, maybe I don't belong here, maybe this is a mistake. And then I began embracing those emotions and said, and I treat myself the way I treat my children, with love and compassion. And I said, you know what? It's okay that you're nervous. Everybody's going to be nervous doing this the first time, but you're with your community here. And then it occurred to me that those feelings of anxiety are really also the same feelings as emotion. Our bodies process them the same. And I was able to step into excitement. And one other thing I want to tell you is this is also a great tool for kids, because it's very simple. It's easy to follow, and they like pie. They think it's hysterical. So, I've taught this to numerous kids, and it's easier for them. My teenage son will walk into the house after school and say, I had to pie a few times today. So we invite you to work with that. And we know that paying attention is one of those things that's easier said than done, but it's possible. It's not easy, but it's like going to the gym. Those first days are the hardest. but I will promise you this has become one of the most important tools of my life, and it's so simple. Kate has jumped on the pie bandwagon with me.
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the things about grief is it can feel so overwhelming. It can feel so complex. And I almost think that's why we don't really try to tackle it collectively. We try to outrun it. We try to ignore it. We try to suppress it. And what I loved and love about pie, and when we introduced it into the conversation, is that it just gives you a starting point. I mean, we just need a starting point. You know, our big goal is to reframe this entire narrative, to have a whole world that can come back together as in a circle, on a Zoom, in a room, and say that felt good to connect with somebody about this. You know, as somebody who has witnessed this over and over again, you know, I often am just like, it is a message that we have to make loud and clear, that grief is not the enemy. These emotions are not the enemy. Unresolved grief is. And if you just make that quick change in your mindset, it takes it from being something that you feel like you want to run away from, you never want to experience again, maybe you even avoid intimacy again. All of those decisions, all of those outcomes that come at that thinking that grief is the enemy is so much better off if we understand that unresolved grief is the enemy, that the beauty of processing, the beauty of pie, the beauty of the work that we do both for ourselves and as a community is actually where the gift is. It's where the connection is. I love seeing in the chat how many people were using that word connected. Isn't it amazing? I mean, the irony is that grief, just as love, is actually the thing that can unite us. It can unite us. And I want everybody in this room and all the people that you go out and touch to understand that's the power that we have when we talk about loss. You know, I want to do one thing quickly with you guys as we think about this world that we imagine where grief is not seen as the enemy, where grief is seen as something that unites us, where we don't feel limited in the time or the connection that we can have with each other and see it as the divider. I mean, I'm a sociologist in more ways than one. And when I look at the state of the world and I look at a lot of the things that even throughout these sessions, throughout these conversations that we've had in the past 2 days, the division that we're all feeling, the shaken foundation of shared truth, all of these things that we aspire to work towards and to bring together as leaders and as individuals that are a part of Wisdom and Wisdom 2.0, it's not lost on me or Elizabeth that if we look at grief, if we look at reframing grief culture, that a lot of those outcomes and a lot of that divisiveness can actually find a common ground of shared truth. So I want everybody to take a moment. I want you to close your eyes, and I'm going to take us to a place. I'm going to take us all to a place where you walk into the doors, you walk into the gates, you walk into the opening that's inviting you in. And this is a place where there's a room full of people. You don't know them. They're strangers, but you know that they are all people that are grieving just like you. And immediately that feeling, the color on the walls, the people that are surrounding you, that have energy, that are talking, that are laughing, that are moving about, that are crying, that are weeping. And you're greeted quickly by a voice that speaks to you and says, hello, welcome. Who did you lose? Or how are you doing today? What do you need? You notice in this room, in this space, the connection, you feel it You immediately feel comfortable. These are your people. This is energy, though, that you're surrounded by people who, like yourself, are grieving is motivating. You feel at ease. It's unlike any room you've ever been in since your loved one has died. I want you to sit in that feeling. I want you to imagine such a place where you don't feel alone in your grief. You don't feel what you might say may be judged, or how you may behave may have a reaction that isn't stigmatized. Can you see that place? Can you feel that place? Okay, I want you to open up your eyes. And I want to tell you that I have experienced that place. I have experienced that place, and it's a place called Kate's Club. And it's a place that I created 20 years ago for children to walk through doors and see colors and brightness and light. And most importantly, to see each other. And after 20 years of working with these kids and seeing this, I've really come away with two big learnings. One is that this isn't unattainable. This isn't unattainable. That these places in this community can be created. And two, I've come to realize that my peers, like all of us, need this place too. That in this place is that infinite cycle of healing for ourselves and helping others that we all can benefit from. That we all can regard ourselves as not just this is something that has happened to me, but this is something that connects me to the rest of the world and the rest of the human experience. So I share this all as really that idea around action. We talked about that last word called action, and we do only have 45 minutes. So there was no way Elizabeth and I were going to be able to introduce all of our workshops and our tools, but we wanted through each element of our movement to give you an idea of what we mean. And with action, I really, really empower you to take away this message that grief is not meant to be done alone. It is something that happens to us individually. It is something that is unique, but is not meant for us to face alone. We are meant to do this in community. And I also leave you with the idea that when you walk through grief, when you decide to make that choice to take action and to be in community, that there are incredible gifts, that there is incredible growth that you can be met with. And that's why Talk About Loss exists today. That we want to make sure that everybody who wants one and needs one and feels one and wants to walk in those rooms and in those doors and know that there are people around them who feel and know what they're going through does exist. It does exist. And I think Elizabeth and I really show up for you today to know that in this limited time, we hope that you were able to get a little bit of that feeling, to see a little bit of that for yourselves, and want to go out into this world and share that with other people who are around you, who are grieving.
Thank you, Kate. I mean, we really did just touch on the surface. I feel like we could do this for a lot longer, but one of the things we like to say is that we feel like grief is love with no place to go. Well, we've created a place, and we do a thing an event every Sunday night on Instagram Live, and it's called Everyone Has a Love Story. And it's us, people just like you and me, talking about the person we love. And this came up because I miss being called Jack's mom or Judah's daughter. And other people felt the same way. And it's incredibly beautiful. So if you would like to become a guest on Everyone Has a Love Story, connect with us through our website, talkaboutloss.com, or you can reach us through Instagram. Kate, you want to throw up the slide with our contact slide? And, you know, we're hoping to connect with you on a deeper level down the road, but please contact us. Because we can do really powerful things when we're together in community. I mean, just the emotions right now that I'm feeling from you and these your beautiful faces. Thank you so much for joining us. So this is how you can reach us.
We also are starting if you are familiar with the new Clubhouse app, we're starting to do a meetup room in the Clubhouse app so that we can connect. As Elizabeth mentioned, we also do things for groups and organizations. So we're happy to come and talk or do workshops. Elizabeth is a brilliant workshop leader. We come together, you know, really in sharing and with some tools that can help us get started on this work together.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Melissa, for guiding us so beautifully.
Oh, thank you both so very much. I am just so grateful to both you, Elizabeth and Kate, for just such a meaningful session and such a blessing. Thank you for sharing the depth of your experiences with us. And I'm just going to also entering into the chat that your information is also on our speakers page for Wisdom 2.0, so people can go to that link as well. And I'm sure that so many people will appreciate connecting with you both even more and continuing these conversations and this connection. And for everyone who wants to continue on, there's a main stage talk that's happening at the top of the hour. And also something that was added, so from some of the feedback that we got from yesterday, that people want more of this, they want the connection, they want the conversation. So there's a meetup room that's been added. So at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, there's a meetup room where you can go to your attendee guide and find that link. And you can go in there just to connect with others, have more conversation. And so that is an offer for you as well. And yes, keep these connections going, continue. And I'm going to
Thank you all for showing up.
allow everyone to unmute themselves. If everyone wants to say, goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much, Elizabeth and
and
Kate.
thanks, Kate.
Thank
It
you.
was so
Thank you.
needed. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank
Hopefully
you.
next time we can do a
Thank
big
you.
circle together.
I want to have a
Thank you
big
so
group
much.
hug. We need a big group hug.
Yes.
You know what helps when you put your hands very close to the screen, all of us,
Oh, beautiful.
and it's really, and now we can connect.
Oh,
I love
Hugging
that.
everybody.
Wonderful.
I
Well,
love that.
thank you for being here, Josh, Hillary.
Hi, Josh.
Hi.
Love you.
Love you.
Wonderful.
Beautiful.
Amazing, amazing.
Elizabeth
my
and Kate, you are wonderful. Thank you.
Oh
You
my
rocked
gosh.
it.
Thank you, Nick.
Totally rocked.
Love you, Hill. Thank you.
I love
both
you too,
for showing
honey.
up.
Thank you. So good. So good.
Great to see you all.
This is so needed. I'm so glad that this is out there for other people.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is.
you so much, Elizabeth.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Jan. Thank you for being here. It's really a remarkable, remarkable experience. And this conference, there's a little bit for everybody, right?
Oh my, yeah.
Yeah,
Really
it's,
powerful.
it's really good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my
Thank
gosh.
you so much for telling me about it, because I know you've talked about it before, but to experience it over the past 2 days, this is like, it's incredible.
It's next level, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
next, yeah.
Feel so blessed. So thank you. And both of you, oh my God, just your work. I keep telling everybody about it. It's just You are gifts.
Oh my gosh.
And Josh, I love you. I'm coming to LA this summer. I'll see you.
Please do, Nikki. I miss you.
I miss you too.
This community of love.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Oh my gosh, Paulette and Carolyn, thank you so much for being here. Hi, Debbie. You're on mute, sweetie. I can't hear you. Okay. What a lovely group.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, Melissa, you are
Beautiful.
joy.
Oh, you both too. Oh my goodness. Just the depth of it was just, I mean, and the way in just this short time, and I go, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, you need a whole retreat.
I know.
I know. I
I
feel
really
like
do. That was the tough, we usually do this stuff over time, over amount of time.
Well, before the pandemic and all, were you offering retreats, or do you do like virtual retreats now, or how are you offering your?
we just joined forces when the pandemic hit. And we've known each other forever.
Oh,
I was a volunteer at Kate's Club, and I've done my own, work in the community, and Kate had Kate's Club. It's still there. It's amazing.
wow.
And we connected as a result of the pandemic. And
Isn't
decided
that
to do this
so
for
wild?
adults.
One of the beautiful things that's
Yeah.
coming out of this.
But I think that's what, Melissa, you're right. I mean, the work that is still ahead of us, even as we come out of the pandemic and the loss of work, I think, Elizabeth and I are very conscious about the work that is going to
Yes.
follow. That is going to be huge. And so
Oh my
we
goodness.
really want people to be able to be in circles and in real life. And I mean, as you saw, 5 minutes, it was like, but
It
people,
goes so quickly. Oh, and I apologize for the women because people can choose if they want to join. So some people chose, they opted out, and then it didn't
Right.
automatically restructure itself, but they have the option to come back.
Oh no, it's all supposed to be the way it's supposed to be.
Yes.
There's one thing that I think is so pivotal, and God, I wish we had more time. I want to encourage people to go to their leadership, or if they are leadership, to really say, this is critical before we walk in together, or at any point, even if people are going to be in Zoom world for another 6 months, to encourage their organizations, because organizations, they're smart. They know they need to touch on this.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Even the loss, I talk to people all the time, and one of the things that keeps on coming up is, how do I go back into my office when 40% of my colleagues are now terminated? How do I deal with that?
Right. That's a huge loss.
It's a huge loss. And culturally, they're going to have to, well, that's another conversation.
Wow. Well, I will definitely, I want to stay connected and all
Yeah.
that. This needs to be a full-on retreat.
yeah,
We can do
it
that
really does.
in Hawaii.
Yes, in Hawaii. Talk about healing. You know,
Okay.
it's the heart chakra.
Yeah, there we go. Melissa, how do I find you?
I will give you my email. I can put
Okay,
it in the chat.
And do we get a transcript of what? We got a
Yeah,
lot
I
of-
copied the I can send you a copy of the chat. Do you want the
Okay.
chat?
Yeah, and I had a couple people ping me about connecting, so.
And I see that we're just about out of time. I'd just like to add something, if I
Yeah.
can, just from my experience of loss, which is loss of health. And to be very fast to say, having gone to a place of being paralyzed from the neck down and unable to stand or walk or talk or speak, and having 4 failed neurosurgeries and all sorts of stuff, and going through that, and then getting to a place, thanks to a number of practices where I'm able to manage the pain and function. And so grateful for the Inner MBA program coming at the time that it did, that I've been able to work through the loss and to try to recapture my sense of self, to be able to go out and start joining the world again in a meaningful way.
Oh, Jan.
So
Can we connect through the Inner MBA platform?
yes, you're a member as well?
I am.
Great. Yes, I'm what, and it's Elizabeth Shara?
Yeah, Elizabeth Shara. What's your last name? I'll connect.
And I'm Jan Mills.
Mills. Okay.
Please send me a friend note or a connection. And
absolutely, we have lots to talk about.
I've just learned about you and I having a number of things in common today, the least of which is our career paths. And so I love to all of you, and I thank you so much.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Jan.
I'll talk to you this week for sure.
That'd be great.
This community, man, is just mind blowing.
Oh
my God.
Powerful, so powerful.
Thank you.
Well, definitely email me. Let's
Yeah.
keep in touch. I will send you the chat, so you'll have all of that. And just thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.